Want to call the June 8th East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education meeting to order. This is a very special meeting in June that we do a lot of our recognition for our tenured staff, mentors, and retirees, and we're pleased to be here in person to see everyone. So welcome to Columbia. And we do have all board members present. Ms. Curtin is remote. Ms. O'Brien, I expect to be a little bit late. And Frank Yaboa, I'm not sure about at this point, but with that, could you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. First order of business is our student council, and we are here to welcome Ryan and Emma. And do we have a former student council person here?
We do. We have two.
I thought I saw Katie. Is she here? Hey, Katie. We'll come back.
Welcome. So today Student Council had our last meeting of the year where we inducted our new officers and we made decisions on next year's homecoming theme and class colors. Tomorrow, all of our student presenters will be meeting after school to prepare for the Columbian Awards ceremony, which takes place on Friday morning. We would like to thank Mrs. McFarland for all of her work put into this event. On Friday morning, the senior prom will start with the walk-in event hosted by the sophomore class, and then the dance will be held at the Desmond Hotel in Albany. And the class of 2022 graduation ceremony will be held at Hudson Valley on Saturday, June 25th at 10 a.m. And finally, the executive council will begin to prepare for the freshman orientation over the summer.
Thank you, Emma, for making all of our student council announcements tonight. So the reason that Emma was totally responsible for those announcements is that she has been elected to be the executive council president for the 2022-2023 school year. So congratulations, Emma. Tonight, we also have Rowan Butterfield, who is currently a sophomore and was just elected to be the Executive Council Vice President. So he will be reporting to the Board of Education beginning next year. So,
All right.
As this is our final meeting, I would like to express my gratitude for everyone who's contributed to the success of Student Council in the class of 2022. First, I would like to thank Mrs. Dyer and Mrs. Shara, our extremely diligent Student Council advisors. They put so much work into making sure that we as student leaders can reach our goals, and they are invaluable to Columbia High School. I would also like to thank Mrs. Eisenbauer and Mr. DiDonato, our class advisors, who have likewise made great contributions to the senior class. I would also like to thank Mr. Harkin and the administration at Columbia High School, who are always willing to work with us when we want to host a school activity or make a change at Columbia. Next, I would like to thank this year's Executive Council team, our activity representative and my sister, Emily Sealy, our secretary, Gabriella Blaze-Coleman, and our treasurer, Akashi Walsh, who are always helping to ensure that the events that Emma and I talk about here are successful. I would also like to recognize a few familiar faces from prior years and my predecessors as Executive Council President, Lily Mahoney and Katie Eisenbauer, who have taught me so much about leadership and laid the necessary groundwork for activities we were able to implement this year. I also would like to thank every single East Greenbush teacher, administrator, coach, and support staff who has been there to ensure that we could get to this point and graduate in the next few weeks. I also thank every single parent, family member, and guardian who has dedicated themselves to supporting us, especially my own mother who's here tonight.
Here's Emma.
And finally, to the Board of Education, Mr. Simons, and the Central Administration team, thank you for supporting us with the many resources we have needed to create the strong, compassionate school district that is East Greenbush. I know that the entire class of 2022 would not be in such a fortunate position without each and every person I've just mentioned. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan. Next order of business on the agenda is our approval of the draft minutes for May 25th. Any questions, comments, or revisions of the minutes? Seeing none, need a motion to approve that. Michelle, second. Cheryl, all those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, thank you, Kathleen. I remember you're out there. The next item on the agenda is the board forum. I'll start on my left with Cheryl. Anything? Michelle? Good. John? Mark? Good. Jennifer, hey. Joanne?
Just want to take a second to congratulate our newly tenured teachers for a very hard time to go through the tenure process. The last few years have not been easy. So thank you for everything that you have done to start your career here. To the retiring teachers, what a way to end your careers. And thank you for everything that you have done. Ryan, Emma, thank you for everything you've done. We will miss you, Ryan, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Joanne. Kathleen?
It's always nice following Joanne because she says everything so well.
And I would also like to recognize our mentors and mentees that are here this evening. Giving back to the profession is so important as we hire new staff and bring staff in their initial onboarding for the school district, and the things you do to help your mentees and new staff are just very well supported here in the district. And I want to thank you for that. And also for the mentees who hopefully had a great experience with their mentors and continue with their careers here at East Greenbush. So thank you and welcome to everyone who's here this evening. The next item on our agenda is the public forum. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly, efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which be considered defamatory or stigmatizing or prohibited will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time? Anyone? Okay, seeing none, we will move to the reports and presentations of the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Pino. So it's a great privilege for me as the superintendent of schools to be here this evening to celebrate the success of our educational community. And that success is reflected by the numerous retirees that we will honor this evening who are leaving our district after commitment of their professional careers for the benefit of our students. The opportunity to congratulate and recognize our staff members, teachers, and teaching assistants who will be receiving tenure. And as Mrs. Taylor has indicated, that has been a unique process over the last several years. Also, an opportunity for us to thank our mentors and for the excellence that they have done to help our newer professionals transition successfully during their probationary period. And also a chance to thank the mentees for participating in the mentor program. We want to begin, however, by congratulating and thanking on behalf of our Board of Education and our district, Ryan Seeley and Emma Marshoni for coming to all of our board meetings and making sure that our board is well aware of what's happening in student council. So without further ado, I'd like Ryan to come forward to receive a certificate of appreciation from our board. And Emma Marshoni. So Ms. Cannon, our Director of Human Resources, I want to thank her. She has organized this event down to every detail, including the refreshments, making sure that the lists, the certificates were accurate, and she's going to keep me on point tonight. So I thank Ms. Cannon. We're going to start our tenure recognition with our members of the East Greenbush Teachers Association. But I want to make a few comments about the tenure process. Many years ago, the state education department and the legislature changed the tenure process to be, for most people, a 4-year probationary period for teachers and administrators. And there are some exceptions for people who have prior experience. In addition, that process has changed in the fact that the accuracy, the detail, the level of engagement that teachers are required to demonstrate, and it's the actual teachers that demonstrate that they are progressing, that they are advancing, that they are meeting our children's needs in the classroom, and always improving their craft. So to get tenure is not an automatic, particularly in the East Greenbush Central School District. Our board, our administration, our unions expect that all of us will hold ourselves to high expectations. So this is an honor to be awarded tenure. And as I have said every year that we've done this ceremony, it's important for every single person who is receiving tenure this evening to remember that you are a lifelong learner. You are always growing, you are always getting better, you are always reflecting on your craft and trying to do everything you can to serve our students as well as we can. So first, I would like to recognize Jennifer Carrera. Is Jennifer here? Come forward, Jennifer. Good job. Ms. Cannon reminded me to let everybody know that after the awards are given out, we're going to take a photo of each of the groups, and then everyone will be free to leave, of course, after you take a refreshment. So we ask everybody to stay so that we can get Mr. Adam to take a photo. Next award for tenure is Heather Clements. Tracy Cornell. Noelle Demalowitz. Valerie Gordon. Teresa Hilton. Jenna Horton. Ashley McCoy. Dana Monk. Susan Pagonis. Trisha Petromelis. Rachel Pulaski. Aaron Reitmeyer. Jennifer Velsick. Nicole Weiss. And Stephanie Ferlazzo could not be here this evening, but we also want to congratulate Stephanie. So again, I want to thank and congratulate all of our teachers on receiving tenure. It's quite an honor to have you tenured in the East Greenbush Central School District, and we look forward to continuing to support your success in working with our students. Next, we have our teaching assistants, who are members of our school-related personnel, who are being awarded tenure this evening. Zachary Kuhn. Jane Scanny. Janelle Tilley. And Lori Malone could not be here this evening, but we want to congratulate Lori. Before we move to our next group, I just want to make a comment about the role of our teaching assistants. I don't know where we would be over the course of the last couple of years during this COVID-19 pandemic without the support and the excellence of our teaching assistants. When I talk to the building principals, when I go into a building and observe myself, the teaching assistants in our district are doing wonderful work to support the success of our students, to support the teachers and the administrators, and they're top notch. And the few that we've honored this evening are reflective of the excellence in all of our teaching assistants within our district. So I'd like to thank the teaching assistants for all they've done to help us within the last couple of years. Also, at an earlier meeting this year, we recognized our Columbia High School principal, Mr. Harkin, as receiving tenure. Mr. Harkin is unable to be here. He will be at the meeting late. He had an outside commitment, but we want to congratulate Mr. Harkin also as Columbia High School principal. A few weeks ago, when we began to review the names of the employees that were retiring from our district, there was a lot of history there, a lot of impact on kids. I think every single one of us here, if we pause for just a moment, we could think about the impact that one particular teacher or one particular staff member had on us. And probably it's the reason why we all do what we do. But if you just think for a moment of the hundreds in some cases, the thousands of kids who have been positively impacted by the employees that we honor who are retiring from our district this evening. It is a mixed blessing in some ways for our district. We will miss your contributions to our family. We will miss seeing you on a day-to-day basis. But we also take comfort in the fact that you have served the community so well in helping our children receive their education. Additionally, our board wants you to know that you are always a member of the East Greenbush family, and we hope to see you, whether that be formally and substituting, and a number of you have signed up for substitutes, and we really appreciate that because we need you, or just stopping by for a visit to let us know how you are doing. So with that, I want to begin by honoring and thanking the members of our district represented by the CSEA who are retiring this year. Randy Brown. Randy, we hope you're not retiring from officiating because we're short on officials. Edward Carey. Harold Crowley. Kevin Kelly. Stacy Richards. Steven Zoller. I talked to Steve's spouse. He won't mind me doing this because Steve and I know one another before the meeting, and she said that he really hasn't retired, that he seems to be spending a lot of time doing projects outside the house, keeping him busy. And he's got a list of projects in the house too. Okay, so congratulations and thank you to all the members of the CSEA for all of your years of service to the district. At this point, we want to recognize our retiring teachers represented by the East Greenbush Teachers Association. David Green. Bob Halleck. Lorraine Lavoie. Karen Sheridan. Linda Stasowski. Donna Marie Vlieg. We have three members of the EGTA who could not be here tonight, but we want to honor them as well. Leonard Fudge. Richard Jones. And Lisa McDonald. I want to thank all of the teachers in our district, and particularly those that are retiring this year, for all of the excellence that you have continued to provide our students. the professionalism by which you've continued to serve kids during a very difficult period over the last few years, the continued inspiration that you are to me as an administrator, our central office administration, and our board. I think one of the reasons that we continue to be successful in the district is because we enjoy an exceptional teaching force at all levels, from the kindergarten all the way up to our high school, and now we have a pre-K program as well. They do a terrific job, all of our teachers. And one of the things that I know to be true that concerns me right now, and I would hope that our retired teachers can help us with this. If you see a young person who wants to be a teacher, tell them about the success of your career, because we really need good quality people, our young people, to go into teaching right now. We are in need of the best of the best, and we've had the best of the best here in East Greenbush, and we want to maintain that tradition. So congratulations and thank you to all of our retirees. Thank you to all of our teachers for the exceptional work that you've been doing all along to keep our district strong. And please send a message to those young people who may be considering teaching that this is a noble profession. It is important to be a member of the public education system in our state, and you can have a big impact on kids and help them to have a bright future. So congratulations to all the retirees. Well, Marissa told me to flip the page, and I was hoping as I flipped the page, I didn't see another list of EGTA members, and I would really be in trouble. So now we're going to honor our school-related personnel retirees, and we've talked about the impact that our support staff has had, particularly over the last couple of years. We could not be successful in working with all of our students and serving the community as well as we do without our members of the school-related personnel. So these individuals have served our district for a very long time in some cases, with excellence in all cases. And we want to thank them and congratulate them on their success in their careers, and we wish them well in retirement. Joanne Klum. Kathleen DeFrucio. Mary Beth Duncan. We'll come up. Sherry Kelly. Great job. Thank you so much. Linda Pavlik. Judy Regitano. Lisa Schuler. Vicki Tillman. Following individuals from SRP let us know that they were unable to attend tonight, but we want to recognize them. Cherie Shin. Elizabeth Cahoon. Linda Cook. Maybelle Fairchild. Peggy Ledger. Joanna Viola. Congratulations and thank you again to all of our members of SRP who are retiring as of this year. We have one special retiree who's a member of the AGASA, and she is our school lunch manager. and she has done an exceptional job. I think I recall that you have worked for the district for 22 years, 32 years, excuse me. 32 years. We had a little gathering for her with her employees yesterday. Phyllis Sanford Krug. So this one is difficult for me because I work so closely with him. And he has made a tremendous difference in our school district, having worked for the district for over 30 years, but he's been by my side in support of the direction of the district and helping so many of you be successful for the last 6 years, 5.5 or 6 years. Jim Mchugh is an outstanding educational leader. Probably the finest assistant superintendent for curriculum that I've worked with, and one of the best educators I've ever seen. His passion for helping students, his genuineness in the way that he works with people, his ability to be able to give feedback to people that may promote growth, but still you leave his office feeling good about what you're doing. The fact that as a superintendent, he works to solve problems that I, as the superintendent, don't even know about, and then he tells me that they're fixed. And the fact that so many of you regard him so well and so highly is a reflection of the work that he has done since he started in his 20s as a teacher at Red Mill School, having worked his way up to become an assistant principal, dean of students at Columbia High School, to the principal at Belltop, and then to become the assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, a job he has done so well over the course of my time here as superintendent. One of the things that I first recognized about Jim is his character. When I first invited him to become or consider being an assistant superintendent, I had the opportunity to meet his family. And I knew he was a good man, an outstanding educator, and I knew that his commitment to the district would serve us well in the capacity of an assistant superintendent, a job that he has done exceptionally well, one that he may not have always liked. Okay. He enjoyed the interaction with the kids and the teachers at Belltop, I know. But I want to thank Jim in front of all of you, because I will acknowledge that my time here would not be as successful as it has been without your work, without your leadership, and without your support. Jim Mchugh. At this point, we want to recognize our mentors, particularly during this period of time when everything is so busy. There are so many challenges just to focus on the students in your own classroom and your responsibilities to be able to deliver instruction. These individuals deserve to be recognized because they care about the profession so much that they want to help somebody else be successful who is just starting within our district. So I want to thank all of our mentors for stepping out of their classrooms, sharing their expertise, helping to coach our teachers and help all of our teachers who are beginning their careers here in East Greenbush to be successful. Tracy Cornell. Sean Crawl. Thank you so much. Joan Davis. Christopher Diedrich. Elena DeMarco. Nicole Driscoll. Renee Fields. Maria Fontaine. Amy Garavelli. Heidi Gleason. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you. Congratulations. Jamie Couchet. Kevin Lahane. Maureen McHugh. Ashley Rickson. Rob West. And I want to thank all of our mentors for helping to support the success of our newer teachers. I really appreciate what you've done to support them, and I hope that you will continue to be willing to serve as a mentor, because we really need your experience and your expertise to help our staff. At this point, we want to recognize our mentees. Again, a lot of work outside the classroom to meet with your mentor, to seek out professional assistance, to make sure that you have ideas that you can share and bounce off of someone else, and ideas that the person can share based on their experience. So congratulations to the following individuals for completing our mentor program. Serena Biskey. Michaela Casella. Lauren Castellana. Monica Cooley. Samantha Dunham. Alicia Edick. Sarah Fiorino. Megan Kenny. Thomas Labardi. Allison McCardle. Timothy Musio. Jacob Preston. Alina Rodriguez. Tara Smades. Terry Walsh. Janelle Carey. That's everybody. So congratulations to everybody being recognized tonight. Congratulations to your friends and family who have joined you this evening. I appreciate all that everyone here in this room is doing to continue to strengthen the East Greenbush Central School District. And we want to take a pause, if that's okay with Mr. Buno and the board, to take some photos, enjoy some refreshments, and to congratulate you informally. Thanks you all for being here. We appreciate it. And thanks for all of your service to our school district. We have 4 seniors here who are part of the participation in government class who are proposing a authentic project and challenging our district to get involved in this. I first learned about this idea from Caden Ring, who was one of our student presenters this evening when she was in 8th grade and part of our student advisory group. She encouraged our group to go over to Bethlehem School District to see what they were doing regarding composting. That's all I'm going to say about this at this point. I'm going to turn it over to Caden and her peers to introduce themselves and this project.
Thank you. So I'd like to start by apologizing. I did lose my voice yesterday. So I'll do my best, but they may have to take over for me a little bit. But as Mr. Simon said, sorry.
That used to work really well when I was elementary.
I bet. My name is Caden Ring, and these are my peers, and I would like to introduce you to Jelena, and she will introduce our project.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jelena Kirkori, and I'm here with Caden Ring, who we already met, Bella Kondo, and Maddie Hoffman. And we are here to present our pig project for you. And we named our project Composting Columbia because we felt this was a great idea to implement into Columbia. And in our presentation today, we reference Mr. Simons, and we also have a video recording from Mr. Warford, who's the assistant principal at Bethlehem Middle School. And he's also in charge of something called the Green Team at Bethlehem Central School District. So for those of you who don't know what composting is the process of collecting food waste and turning it into nutrient-rich soils and renewable energy like electricity and natural gas. And compost is decomposed organic material, and it's often used as a plant fertilizer. And it includes items like leaves, grass clippings, and anything from your kitchen.
Why do we need to compost? So this is a very great question. And similar to recycling, composting will help to reduce our waste output, which is a very big issue at our school district, whether you're familiar with that or not. Based on my own time spent in the cafeteria, students do often struggle with knowing whether or not to put something in the recycling bin or in the garbage bin. You'll often see unused napkins in the trash bin and food wrappers in the recycling bin, which is obviously an issue because those cannot be recycled. But with the implementation of this composting program, we are hoping to bring composting bins into our cafeterias. So when students are done with their unused food, they can simply dump it in there. And whether you knew this or not, almost 50% of school waste is compostable. So almost 50% of the trash right outside could be used for compost, and this will greatly help our environment. So composting itself helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, including carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and methane emissions. It reduces the amount of waste in landfills, which are taking over the US and other neighboring countries. It saves space, and helping composting will educate the students in our district and outside of our district, if it grows, on the proper recycling, composting, trash, just helping save the environment. It's a great educational opportunity for all grade levels.
Okay, so this is just a short video kind of showing and explaining how we can implement composting to our school as other schools did.
Can your school do more to reach zero waste goals? The answer is yes. Your school can start with the simple act of composting. Composting is when organic material, like food waste, napkins, and paper products, can decompose naturally and turn into nutrient-rich soil. Unlike plastics, organic waste is 100% recyclable, and the process serves as an easy step towards zero waste. Now that you know this, did you also know that more than 50% of waste generated at school is compostable? However, currently all of that organic waste is thrown away as trash and taken to landfills and incinerators in Maryland. What happens in a landfill or incinerator? In landfills, organic waste decomposes anaerobically as it's trapped under plastics and other trash. When it's left to rot like this, or burned in incinerators, a tremendous amount of methane gas is released into the air. Methane is actually 21 times more potent than carbon, and it directly affects climate change. In fact, landfills are the third largest source of man-made greenhouse gases in the United States. Composting is logical, easy, and can make a huge difference for your community. When food and paper waste is separated from other trash and brought to a commercial compost facility or Maryland farm, it can decompose naturally. This straightforward process takes only 3 to 4 months, it's pollutant-free, and it captures carbon as it decomposes into nutrient-rich soil. That's right, composting removes carbon from the air. Once food waste is separated from other trash in your school, it will be cleaner, less smelly, and reduces rodent and insect problems. We must change how we look at waste. Join schools that aim to reach zero waste goals and start now.
Okay. So this is just a short audio clip when we were talking with Mr. Warford, who is again the assistant principal at Bethlehem Middle School, and he also made the Goff Garden, and he started that, and he brought it to Bethlehem, and they have a very successful program there where they do composting a lot, and it has worked very well for them. So we gave us some great advice on how to implement that in our school.
And when you're a school district and you contract with a waste hauler, what they do is they determine the bid based on the number of picks that they do. So how many times they empty your container.
Okay.
So typically what they'll do is they'll empty your dumpster once a day. They'll empty your recycling dumpster a couple times a week or once a week. So it doesn't matter how much stuff goes in the dumpster. It's just a matter of how many times they empty it.
Right.
So there really isn't a huge cost savings to composting food waste. There's a huge environmental savings because food's not going into the landfill, which creates methane gas, which creates climate change, or the education that really needs to happen. That is The bang for your buck is educating students on sustainable practices for the future.
Okay.
So, not sure if you know it, 5 states in our country now have mandatory composting in their state. Vermont's one of them. Every house in Vermont has 3 buckets: a garbage can, recycling bucket, and a food waste bucket. Each one gets emptied once a week. By the time you're my age, every state in this country is going to have three containers, and food waste is going to be part of the picture because it's such an easy, low-hanging fruit to stop climate change and decrease stuff that's going to landfills. Also, New York State just recently this year enacted January 1st, 2022, 2 big composting laws in New York State. Large food organizations and large institutions have to compost. So now all supermarkets have to compost their food waste. All hospitals, colleges, large institutions, schools were exempt this year.
Okay.
But in the future, schools are going to be mandated to compost. So it just makes sense that you begin to work on getting the infrastructure in place and keep things ready. It may not save us money, saving the environment, we're training kids for the future, and we're preparing for what is inevitable for our school with mandatory statewide composting.
So equal out.
Right. That's
And even if it didn't equal out totally, it's a good educational thing to do.
Yeah.
That's a good environmental thing to do.
Right. So from that audio, I think you could hear, but this at the beginning of this school year, January, it was enacted in our state that big corporations now have to compost. So it is kind of inevitable that in the future we may have to, and it makes sense for us to start now. And as Mr. Warford said, it is not a huge cost savings, of course, to compost, but it is definitely a big environmental savings, and it is great for education.
Okay, so next up we have a little diagram over here of a garbage can, of a typical garbage can. 21% of food scraps alone are in like most garbage cans that's being wasted. 15% of that's like paper or paperboard. Like we have in this school cafeteria, we have those cardboard trays that also can be composted. And 8% are yard trimmings from mowing lawns or doing some type of yard work. And the last 8% is wood waste from like chippings off of firewood or something like that.
So these are just some facts about composting. 108 billion pounds of food is wasted each year in the United States. 130 billion meals are thrown away each year. $408 billion in food is thrown away every year, and 40% of all food in America is wasted, which we can definitely reduce by composting. And like it was said, it was enacted that a lot of big companies have to start composting, and with that, we feel like that those numbers can definitely reduce by a lot by composting.
Okay, so we are trying to reduce methane emissions because, believe it or not, organic material that is being thrown away in landfills will be broken down by anaerobic bacteria that actually releases methane into the air. Methane is a very potent greenhouse gas that holds more heat per molecule than carbon dioxide. So it is automatically a threat more than carbon dioxide. This adds to global warming, which is the opposite that we want to do. And by reducing the amount of organic material that we throw in our landfills, we can easily reduce the amount of methane being emitted into the air.
How can we implement this at our school? So, like I mentioned before, we will have 2 bins, if not 3, in the cafeterias at hopefully each school, maybe just start small at Columbia. But we will have a composting bin, a recycling bin, and a trash bin. And we'll have little labels next to all of them. And it'll tell the students what they can and can't compost. And in one of our next slides, you will see just what can and can't be composted. So that is a very small cost. And since I know cost is a big thing, it's a big issue, I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. So we estimated that it may be about $600 just to purchase like the bins, if our school district does not already have these for all of the schools in our district. And when talking to Mr. Warford, he mentioned that their waste hauler, their outsource that they use for composting, is about $5,000 for their entire district. And Bethlehem is a little bit bigger than Columbia, so our cost may be a little less than that. But $5,000 is for the whole year for every school in the district. And that's for the composting trucks to come and pick up the compost. And aside from that, the $600 for the bins and the signage, which would probably not be very expensive, just a sealed piece of paper. But our district will work with a composting service to collect the waste weekly, if not a few times a week, because compost can start to smell after a little while. And each day in the lunchroom, we will have a different list of what can and can't be composted for that day, just to make it as easy as possible for the students to know what they can and can't compost. In the future, it is our goal to use the golf garden that Mr. Warford started and do sort of a farm to table sort of program. That's what Mr. Warford does at Bethlehem High School. They actually do their composting on site, but they've been doing it for quite a few years, so it might take a little bit to get there.
Okay, so this is just a couple examples of the food that can be composted, and there's a little star next to certain one of those because certain companies will not take some of these products. So a couple of them are like fruits, veggies, stuff that we have in the cafeteria, eggshells, surprisingly, coffee grounds. Coffee grounds itself is actually just really good for the soil. Tea bags, nutshells, cardboards. And what we don't want is diseased plants. We don't want to add that to the soil because it will just kill everything. And fats, grease, and lards and oils, we don't want any of that.
And to conclude, we just want to give a special thanks to Mr. Harkin, Mrs. Ross, Ms. Jorgensen, Ms. Wilcox, and a very special thanks to Mr. Simons and Mrs. Shara for helping us today and giving us this opportunity to speak in front of all of you and just get out our idea. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, ladies. Any questions for the team here?
I don't have any questions, but I do just have a comment. First, this is excellent. I totally support it. I think it's a great idea. I also love the idea that you're looking at bringing the golf middle school back into it. It's been very sad to see it not being utilized when there was so much effort into it. So I love the fact that this will help, move that forward too. So excellent ideas. The only comment I want to say is I think what you did is wonderful and educating, and I would love to have all the high schoolers kind of be required to understand what kind of an amazing benefit they're going to get from composting instead of just kind of doing it in the cafeteria, maybe in health or I don't know where. They have a little bit of information like you did, because I think this is important because it actually shows that you can make a change. So excellent presentation.
Thank you.
So how would you convince your peers to participate in this? It's a big question.
And that's a big one. So I think that we definitely have to start at the younger age because little kids are a lot more impressionable. And we have to teach them why we need to compost, why we need to save the earth. And I think that we're starting to do that more in our education, teaching why global warming is bad and saving the earth is good. So I just think that we definitely have to start at the younger ages and maybe work our way up.
That's great. Any more comments?
I thought it was a great presentation, both the PowerPoint and all of you presenting, and I would fully support this as well. It's a great idea.
So what we would like to do is work with our business office, Mr. Harkin, and students while you're still here for the next few weeks. It's nice that you're doing this as seniors. This would be a legacy project for you guys.
Yeah.
And see what we could do to identify a source for the containers, receptacles, source for the removal, and we'll bring a proposal to the board regarding the cost. And if the board is supportive of that, we can start slowly and we can move forward next year.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you.
I would
guys.
recommend that we move forward next year.
Thank you.
Excellent again. Thank you.
So 12 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that the few of the ladies that I see in front of me would be in front of the board talking about this project, but congratulations, great job. And thank you for coming this evening. Appreciate it. So we'll start that process, Mr. Simons, and move forward.
We'll look into it in terms of the district's operations. We'll talk to Mr. Harkin a little bit further about it.
We'll have a new school lunch manager, so we'll talk with her about that. And we'll see what we can do to move forward.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. And you guys can go. You don't have to stick around for the rest. So good seeing you guys. All right, take care. The next item is our strategic plan scorecard update 21-22. Mr. Simons.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Buno. We started this process, I believe, 5 years ago now, in which the beginning of the school year, our board revisits its goals for the school district. We identify some primary objectives and priorities of the district that we want to focus on during the year. Our administrative team maps out some strategies and some ways that we can measure our success and some timelines. And typically 2 or 3 times a year, we report back to the board our progress through a scorecard. It's been a good way to track the progress of our district in different areas. We're going to have myself and our administrators, central office administrators, share 2 or 3 of the activities that they've been working on within the scorecard. I'll start with page 1. One of the directions that the board has given us is to make sure that we continue to maintain and support a safe school environment, educational experience within our district that incorporates diversity, equity, and inclusion. A few years ago, we did a school climate survey, and that school climate survey was something that was participated in by 5th graders through 12th graders, by all of our employees and our parents. And the school climate survey was based on an index of the U.S. Department of Education, looking at a number of different areas. Overall, the survey was very positive about the safety and the engagement and the welcomeness of our school district, but there were some areas that we felt, and the board gave me direction to follow up on more. One of those areas was to make a more of an effort to make sure that staff was aware of new programs. So Mr. Mchugh has been making sure that the minutes of the Committee for Curriculum Studies have been shared with all of our teachers this year, not just with committee members, but being widely distributed. So everybody in the district is more aware of those curriculum changes, adoption of new instructional resources, typically those kinds of items that come from the CCS committee to the board. Additionally, as we have transitioned all of our students back, one of the indicators was to take a close look at disciplinary practices within the district to try to be as consistent as possible, but we are also experiencing some significant challenges regarding some of our students coming off of the pandemic. And that's no different than any other district. You talk to any district in New York State, we have some students that are having trouble adjusting. We have some situations where a different approach may be required to keep our kids in school, but also to make sure that they are meeting our expectations. We put into our professional development plan some work with Restorative Practices, which is a model which helps our students own their mistakes, helps our students connect into a tone for some of their mistakes. Mrs. Barker, Mrs. Hoffman at the middle school have participated in some conferences in regard to restorative practices. Mr. Mchugh has arranged different outside organizations, including the New York State Office of Mental Health, to come in and to work with our staff on professional development days. Additionally, we had a program called Mediation Matters that was introduced to our staff. And we've also been working with Chris Casey, who is our data specialist, on a report that I will be providing the board regarding trends that we're seeing in discipline over the last 3 years based on student groups, subgroup performance, and discipline, as well as going back and tracking back some of our students who are struggling experiences in the elementary school level, at the middle school level, those students who may be highly mobile, who have moved around a lot, tracking our students with disabilities, how we're doing, looking at various infractions that we're seeing within our schools. For example, we are seeing an increase in the number of students that are vaping in our schools and who have been receiving disciplinary consequences for utilizing vaping in the school system. Additionally, we continue to have this emphasis in our professional development plan in terms of restorative practices. One of the things we want to look at next year as we put together a plan for the district is what can we do to prevent certain types of infractions from occurring in the first place? How can we respond as consistently as possible when an infraction does occur. What types of responses are we not utilizing in our district that would help bring students to more success in our classrooms? And then how do we evaluate what we're doing as far as our disciplinary practices? We will be looking further and deeper into our code of conduct, trying to add some of these options for students within our code of conduct. I will tell you that that is the direction that the state is taking as well. I am a member of the New York State Safety Task Force, which is coordinated by the State Education Department, and they are also looking at the requirements for the code of conduct, for suspension rates, and a number of different changes that the Board of Regents may be considering. So we're doing some work locally on the school climate, trying to identify things that we can do in our professional development and in our menu of options for kids to make sure that more kids are successful and that we're addressing inappropriate and disruptive behaviors in the school. Second objective, the board had been brought to the attention of the board, I believe now 2.5 or 3 years ago. Mr. Mann, our vice president, participated in a conference in which he brought back to our district the idea of putting in equipment on our school buses that would enable us to do a better job as a community of identifying individuals who are passing the school buses when the arm is out, the stop arm camera program. I'm happy to report that a couple of meetings ago, our board approved the contract and the requirements that were necessary to submit to both the county and the bus patrol program. And now we're just waiting for some clarification from the company and the state as to what we need to do to try to get that equipment on our buses by September. Additionally, in the area of looking into additional safety practices, we've done a number of workshops with the East Greenbush Police Department on opioid addiction as well as vaping. We are planning some training for the fall and the active shooter response training, which is so necessary now. Additionally, we have, at the encouragement of the board, investigated vaping sensing technology. We visited Mahonison High School. We liked what we saw. We spoke to the company. We ordered 4 of those vaping detection device kits, and I'm told by Ms. Wager that they should be in either Friday or Tuesday. And we plan to install those in 4 bathrooms that Mr. Harkin and the administrative and security staff have identified at the high school for a pilot program next year.
And then Jeff, you'll go to the middle school after that?
That would be our hope. We want to evaluate how they're doing. We may put more in the high school.
Yep.
And then we may go to the middle school.
Okay.
But that equipment has been ordered and in place. Additionally, we've also been working with Alyssa Evans and other outside agencies on presenting vaping sessions, particularly during our Health Awareness Week. We also brought in St. Peter's Crime Services to work with our kids at the Goff Middle School, and they have done a number of presentations focused on the dangers of vaping. Mr. Mchugh has been in contact with the East Greenbush Police Department about one of our opening days for next year to do a CRAZE training, which is civilian response to active shooter. But we're also going to be doing that in PE classes with all of our students at the high school next year as well, a little bit later in the fall. So we feel we've accomplished a number of things on the first 2 objectives as we continue to mark those objectives as in progress, because school safety and educating our students about health and safety is never ending. It's not something that we do for 1 year and then we stop. Our district and our board is always asking, what can we do to continue to educate our kids and provide an infrastructure to keep the kids safe? Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Mchugh.
Just going to highlight 2 items. So the first highlight is objective number 3 under supporting and maintaining a safe and engaging school educational experience through diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the objective was to demonstrate the accessibility, utilization, and effectiveness of educating the whole child, fostering positive physical and social emotional wellness of students, increasing student engagement, and effectively addressing mental health needs of children and families. So things that were accomplished this year to address that objective, we offered targeted professional development on social emotional learning and wellness throughout the 21-22 school year. We increased our staffing under student support services. We added a Rensselaer County satellite mental health clinic, which opened at Goff and Columbia High School on January 18th. We added a wellness coordinator position, and that has averaged about 125 students and staff per day. So he has interacted with about 125 students a day. Things range from PE makeup classes, the development of nutrition and wellness plan, basic nutrition, lifestyle habits, incorporated guest speakers and health classes. They made an outside visit to University at Albany's Athletic Performance Center. We, as a district, established a committee to ensure that translation services were incorporated into disciplinary proceedings. We had keynote speakers highlighting, we had several, but I'll just highlight Christina Cipriano from Yale, and that was back on a recommendation from Jen Massey, probably well over a year ago. But she addressed leaning into social emotional learning to support the whole child, thriving this school year and beyond. We had presentations on creating emotionally inclusive schools in classrooms with social emotional learning. I'm just highlighting a few essential methods for managing students with complex trauma, the trauma-sensitive classroom for building student resilience, using children's literature to teach social emotional learning in grades K through 2, a seminar on do relationships really matter in learning. We had a series on whole child connection. We had a session on physical health in community schools. We had a book study that had well over 24 of our employees participate, building a trauma-informed, compassionate classroom. We had sessions on workplace wellness, poverty's effect on students, de-escalation training, 2 different sessions on restorative practices that Mr. Simon previously mentioned. Highlight number 2 is objective number 3, under ensuring progress, innovative, and inclusive pathways for all students through academic and trade education excellence within our schools. That objective was to develop and implement curricular and instructional approaches to increase the number of students demonstrating both proficiency and mastery on Regents examinations. Historically, our proficiency rate is very high. We really have been focused on increasing our percentage of students that are hitting that mastery. So 65 is proficiency, 85 is mastery. We've continued to review and discuss all available academic data. And we have taken that academic data right down to the particular learning standard. We've looked at trends. We're not just looking at a single year. We're looking at 3-year and 5-year data. So we're looking at those standards that we fall short on consistently over a period of time. So it's been a little challenging because of COVID-19 and the elimination of Regents, but we've gone back into that data. We've had department meetings where we share those trends, and that's where the power is when you're showing trends. You're showing 5 years worth of data. We have had summer curriculum writing and mapping, and we've made purchases for instructional materials and textbooks that are aligned to the New York State learning standards. We provide this data to our department chairs. We completed a 3-year Regents performance analysis by learning standard, ELA, Algebra 1, living environment, earth science. We look at subgroups, economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, all students. The Algebra 1 Regents curriculum was revised during the summer of 2021. The introduction to Algebra 1A and introduction to Algebra 1B curriculum writing is getting done this summer. Curriculum updates have occurred over the last 3 summers for physics, earth science, chemistry, living environment, along with kindergarten through grade 8, in order to align science instruction to the next generation learning standards. I would say that our district is well ahead of the curve in regards to making sure our curriculum is aligned to the next generation learning standards.
We have a new global history instructional framework. It was created by our social studies department to better ensure that instructions align to the new standards. We have a new textbook that was purchased this year for next year for U.S. history and world history global. We now have consistent district midterm examinations that were created by our departments for living environment and physics. Let's see, we have new textbooks that were purchased for our Goff Middle School, grades 6, 7, and 8. That current textbook was 16 years old, not aligned to the current standard. So we have a new textbook for our middle school. And something that's been really powerful is that we produce quarterly failure reports for grades 6 through 12. We share that information. We use that information to lead professional dialogue and discussions. The reports identify all students failing one course or more. We focus on which courses students are failing the most. That has driven some of our decisions regarding staffing and how we use the academic day. Our high school and middle school administrators have done a really good job at making sure that our kids that need the help are getting that help. We look at the courses that have 10 or more failures. We look at all subgroups. Again, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged, English language learners. We look at course failures by teacher, by department, by course. And again, that's driven everything from scheduling students to the Learning Resource Center to providing tutoring for students. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. We'll go to Marissa Cannon to talk about what we're doing in the area of human resources, recruitment and hiring.
Thank you, Mr. Simons. The goal is effective and efficient delivery of human and fiscal resources, and I'll be discussing Objective 1 and Objective 2. The first objective is to continue to strengthen a diverse recruitment process, hiring and employee retention procedures, and programs within our school district. Our strategy was to participate in regional recruitment opportunities. I had the pleasure of attending Clarkson University's mock interview day on March 23rd and March 24th of 2022 to meet and interview many graduates majoring in education. I was able to meet with several students pursuing certification in shortage areas such as E&L, mathematics, and science. I also was able to attend the annual Education Expo held at St. Rose on April 22nd. Students and alumni from the College of St. Rose, Clarkson, Russell Sage College, Siena, SUNY Empire, and SUNY Albany attended that event. And these events continue to provide our district with an opportunity to foster positive relationships with our local colleges and the ability to identify qualified candidates early on in the recruitment season. Our second objective is to develop and implement plans and initiatives to identify current and future personnel needs, address employee shortage areas, including transition plans for key leadership roles, instructional and non-instructional positions. Our strategy was to analyze compensation rates for various employees and adjust if needed to remain competitive in order to expand the pool of employee candidates. At the beginning of our 21-22 school year, our substitute teachers were paid at a daily rate of $105 a day. Due to the impact of COVID-19, our district, as well as districts across the nation, felt the shortage of substitute teachers. We compared substitute teaching rates of surrounding school districts, and in reviewing those rates, we recommended to our board that the substitute rate be increased to $135 per day and $145 per day for retired East Greenbush teachers. The board approved that rate increase in November of 21, and since then, we've been able to hire approximately 30 new substitute teachers in our district. Our central office administrators met with SRP to recognize the contribution of our nurses and discuss the additional responsibilities created by the pandemic. In response to COVID, we needed to implement point of care testing for symptomatic staff and students, and that became necessary. Our district and SRP entered into a memorandum of agreement providing a one-time stipend of $2,000 for each nurse to recognize their contributions and the need for point of care testing throughout the academic year. We also created a school bus driver recruitment video to address the shortage of our school bus drivers. That video can be viewed on our employment page at the very top. Since that video has been created, we've been able to attract 13 bus driver applicants to our district since December of 2021. And I'm proud to report that we have a new substitute bus driver that's on the consent agenda for tonight. And we are also training an additional driver, and Jill Bonesdale has been instrumental in that. We started our search and recruitment for the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction early on. And we were able to identify 54 applicants. And we've made a wonderful selection of Mr. Siles, who will be joining our district on July 1st. We also started our recruitment and selection process for our director of athletics, who will be retiring next school year in September of 2022. And we have completed first round and second round interviews to date.
Thank you, Marissa. Now we want Linda Wagger, who's our Director of Business and Finance, to talk about a couple of the goals related to the budget process, as well as our work with the Budget Review and Advisory Committee on Facilities Planning.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simons. Under the board goal, effective and efficient delivery of human and physical resources, I'd like to highlight the third objective, which is maintain transparency and stakeholder engagement in the budget development process, develop ways to sustain educational programs, conduct cost-benefit reviews, and to ensure affordability to our local taxpayers. We began talking about the 2022-2023 budget in December of 2021. Information regarding the budget process and development was presented at each of the board meetings and budget workshops, which occurred during the months following December 2021, leading up to the board adoption of the budget on April 12th. Additionally, we highlighted certain areas of the budget with presentations on our special education services, as well as information on our bus and maintenance fleets. Our 2022-2023 budget in the amount of $104.8 million was approved on May 17th and maintains all of our current programs and adds some additional services, all at a 0% tax levy increase. This was obtained through the use of federal funds, increased state aid, and conservative budgeting. In an effort to look forward, we proposed to establish a capital reserve, which was also approved. This will allow the district, through the Board of Ed approval, to fund the reserve up to $5 million over 10 years. The use of the funds, as approved by the residents, will be used to reduce the amount of debt issued on future capital projects. This will avoid the cost of issuing debt, including interest expense. Transparency throughout the year is provided in the form of treasurer's reports, budget and revenue status reports, claims auditors reports, as well as additional audit reports from our internal and external auditors. Under the board goal, maintain positive relationships and partnerships with community and families. The second objective is to expand collaboration with all towns and villages served by the East Greenbush Central School District. The Long Range Planning Committee, which is formerly known as BRAC, held several meetings throughout the year. We held meetings in September, October, November, and February. At those meetings, our facilities director, along with our construction managers and architect, provided updates on our current capital projects. We also had invited guests from the town of North Greenbush and East Greenbush, as well as the Spinney Group, and they provided information for us on current residential and commercial projects that are going on. The town of East Greenbush is also assisting the district in facilitating a plan to develop an additional access to Columbia High School. The desirable route is access to Mannix Road as compared to an additional access point at Route 151. The routes we discussed involve crossing through Tech Park land, some of which is owned by Greenbush Associates and some which is privately owned. It also involves a possible connection to the Tech Valley Drive, which is a town road. As a follow-up, the district plans to meet with the affected property owners and discuss our needs and considerations. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. So we continue to use this scorecard as a way to organize the work of our administrative team, to support the board's directions to us. And at this point, if anybody has any questions or comments on the scorecard, we'd be happy to address them.
Anyone? So tremendous amount of work involved in making sure that the goals of the district, the board set out in working with the administration, I think really demonstrates, even during a challenging period of time, the ability to adjust and kind of address those needs, but also the emphasis on gathering data to support our budget, our fiscal resources, and the things that we need to address on an ongoing basis. So I appreciate all the work that's going into it from the team. And the data is really important to us as we make those changes and shifts to address those needs, both, instructionally, for safety. In particular, I think as we evaluate this for the next year, develop our goals, kind of see where we are in the lay of the land, and really, again, it's we're coming out of the situation now, and I think that it's important that we revisit a lot of these things, but prioritize this because there's a lot of work to be done here, and I think our kids and students are still adjusting to a lot of changes, and we're in a difficult environment right now.
Yep.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, thank you for that discussion. Moving on to our regular business. Approval of programs for resident children with disabilities. Any questions or comments? Need a motion to approve that? Michelle, second. Joanne, all those in favor?
Aye.
Are you still out there with us, Kathleen?
I am. I voted for it. I'm listening.
Okay. The next resolution is on our teacher tenure, and we had our recognition today. Any comments or questions? Need a motion to approve that? John, I need a second. Joanne, all's in favor?
Aye.
I'm doing the swivel thing back and forth to catch everybody, so or say something. The next resolution is the school social worker tenure. Need a resolution to approve that, or a motion to approve that? Michelle, need a second. John, all's in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Next is the teaching assistant tenure. Need a motion to approve that? Joanne, second. Jennifer? All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Student award and scholarships. You can read the information there in the memo. That's the funds that are provided for the scholarships in a year. Any questions or comments about that? I need a motion to approve that. Michelle, second. Joanne, all those in favor?
Aye.
The Board of Education meeting schedule we went through last week. We made some adjustments. Any questions on the adjustments we made? I think there was one thing we mentioned, Jeff, where we're going to ask the board if they wanted to start a little earlier on July 5th for the reorg.
Yes, if the board was available, we could start at 6 o'clock.
I mean, 7 o'clock is.
Could make that meeting.
So we'll put something out for 6 p.m. and make a change if we have to.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Other than that, any questions or comments, revisions on that? Seeing none?
Are we gonna ever go back to Janae for any of the meetings? I don't.
Oh, the board,
Yeah.
the board
regular
room?
board meetings. It's just, it's a smaller little atmosphere. Sometimes I feel like we get to connect a little bit more with folks, but I don't know if we have
Is that under renovation?
the technical ability. to do that.
I believe we do, and we are, the only reason we're not back in there is because there was still some kind of a transition with, COVID.
Yep.
The room is being renovated with new windows. There's a couple more windows that need to go in that are a different size than the ones we've already done. Mr. Goodwin is going to put some smart technology in there in terms of ViewSonic boards to really give it an upgrade, and we're going to paint it. But yes, I think in September, we probably, unless there's something related to COVID, we can move back there. And I think it'd be a nice return.
Yeah, it's set up nicely
Yes.
for our meetings.
Yes. So I don't see a reason why we can't.
So right now we have a lot of things scheduled at Columbia High School, still at the library. So we'll see what the transition time would be, and then we can adjust the calendar if we have to.
Yes.
Yeah, I good with it? All right. Good suggestion. Thanks, Michelle. Did we get that motion? No. Okay. You need a motion to approve that? Michelle, second. Jennifer, all those in favor?
Aye.
We have a position establishment for the CSC chairperson. Any questions on that? And that'll be a EGTA position, 10-month.
Yes.
Yep. Need a motion to approve that. John, second. Jennifer, all those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Another one to help out Marissa's office, the HR generalist position. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve that. Jennifer, second. John, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No? Okay. That motion is approved. And then the final one is the change order in the Santa Reuben Construction Services. We had a conversation about this the last meeting. Any questions or comments about that final change order? Nope. Seeing none, I need a motion to approve that. Joanne, second. Michelle, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Approved. All right, a lot of resolutions on regular business to get through, but we're all set there. Committee reports, do we have any committee reports? Starting with Marissa? No?
Just very briefly, a brief staffing update.
Okay.
The administrator for transportation services, our posting will close on June 17th. And today we posted for the assistant transportation supervisor position. We have several teaching positions that we're recruiting for. We have a .2 art teacher that was reposted. We have a mathematics teacher for Goff Middle School, a physical education teacher, and several special education teachers throughout the district. And then on our non-instructional side, we have the need for an account clerk typist. We reposted our database specialist position. Our first posting, unfortunately, did not result in any candidates. And we have several monitors throughout the elementary school and one senior monitor at Goff that we're recruiting for. And lastly, we are looking for 4 typists to fill in for our retirements.
Great, thanks, Marissa. Any questions for Marissa? One of the things about the IT position, the database, I mean, I think some of the things that I found, and we've done a lot of work at our organization about changing titles and working with civil service to update those things. I think a lot of times keywords based on what you're posting has been very helpful. So sometimes these making those shifts is helpful. So tough field to recruit for, though.
Yes.
Next, going to Linda. Anything, Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Buno. Last night, we had a Finance and Audit Committee meeting. Guests at our meeting included Ellen Walther, who is from the Bonadio Group, Michael Wolf, our internal auditor, and Patty Torrey Dobush, our claims auditor. Mr. Walther provided a review of our upcoming independent audit engagement for the year ending June 30th, 2022. Our independent auditors provide an audit and opinion on our financial statements. Preliminary work started in May, and the main audit will take place in mid-August. The committee will meet again in late September. We'll review the draft financial statements, and they will be presented to the board in October. Mr. Michael Wolf, our internal auditor, provided a draft of the 2021-2022 risk assessment report. The internal auditor provides a review of our internal controls and procedures. He looks at all items in the business office, including cash, payroll, receipts, disbursements, benefits, and extra classroom. He also includes the areas of food service, technology, and fuel inventory. That risk assessment report will be presented to the board on June 22nd. Patty Torrey Dobush, our claims auditor, provided an overview of the procedures that she reviews our claims each week before we can send out our vendor checks. And this was also a recommendation of the internal auditor. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Jim?
We had our final committee for curriculum study on Wednesday, June 1st. We had 42 of our members in attendance. Mr. Stiles kindly participated in our last CCS meeting. He introduced himself to our committee. We talked about our 3 program reviews, which will be on the June 22nd agenda: alternate education, music, and library. I will point out that our faculty members did a phenomenal job on those program reviews. All 3 are really impressive documents, lists everything from the accomplishments to real targeted goals. So they will be on our June 22nd agenda. I believe Mr. Marsh will be joining us to highlight the alternate ed program review. We talked about our program reviews scheduled for next year: athletics, career and technical education, and world languages. We reviewed the summer curriculum writing proposals that were submitted. All of the proposals except for 2 were approved. The 2 that were not approved are just put on hold. They're both phys ed curriculum, 6 through 8 and 9 through 12. So we wanted our new athletic director to be put in place to kind of guide that work. So 2 were put on hold. All the other ones were approved. That was it. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. And Jeff?
Nothing further.
Okay, very good. Moving on the agenda, table motions, we have none at this time. Old business, board members? Kathleen, anything? No?
Nothing for me.
Thank you. And then we'll move on to the consent agenda and items A through I. Any questions, comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I need a motion to approve that. Sure. Second, John, all those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. I have my reading glasses on, so it's a little blurry. So, okay. Addendums, no addendums at this time. New business, board members?
Mike, I have something.
Yes, John.
I'll be brief. When we're reading about our scorecard and with all the objectives and trying to assess where we are, we've been focused a lot on the health and wellness component, especially with COVID and the challenges we faced for the last couple of years. And I was wondering, without creating a lot of work, if there was a vehicle we could either survey our staff overall and ask them to prioritize some of the things that they experienced throughout the last school year, because I think there's been a lot of challenges, and not to get into the weeds on a lot of minute things, but what is the overall health of our staff? Where are they after such a challenging year with reentry? We know we're kind of have an idea where the students are, where the parents are, but to really gauge where the staff is and what we can do to facilitate a reentry for the fall, that would maybe help them kind of recover and regroup. And it could be something as simple as, what were the challenges you faced, and ask them to list it, or give them a couple of things in an overall survey. Now, whether you do it through the bargaining units or just an overall staff, and try to encourage through the bargaining units to have people participate in it, so that we can facilitate improvement and some of the challenges they faced, and maybe even have a section where what would they like to see is in regards to health and wellness.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
We'll put something together and we'll bring a draft back for the board to review.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. Thank you for the suggestion.
Very good. I think one thing too, in the current climate of where we are with the recent tragedies, we talked about this last meeting, how we can, again, this district has been very, I think, at the forefront of making sure our schools and our sites are safe and well protected, and continue to invest in those resources. The other thing for the board, the superintendent evaluation process will start up. Jeff and I talked about timeline, so I'll share that with everyone shortly. What we agreed to, and we can get started on that, especially with the kind of culmination of the end of the year, the scorecard being wrapped up and the different things there. So I'll share that with the board soon.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving to the next. Anything else? Okay.
Actually, can I add one thing really quick,
Yeah,
Mike?
go ahead, Kathleen.
I just noticed, I was catching up today on some emails, that Mr. Simons is going to be presenting at the Leadership in Education NISBA presentation in August at the Desmond. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Mr. Simons? I just saw your name and it looks like a very interesting
Thank you.
presentation.
Yes, Hunter Cruz and Jay Rorona from the New York State School Boards Association asked if I would be part of a panel to discuss how schools are addressing mental health. And I was honored to be asked. It is a Saturday morning activity for board members, and I'm looking forward to it. I did say yes, and I reached back out to Jay Rorona for more details, and he and I haven't connected yet. But thank you, Ms. Skirt. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. We'll now move to the our second public forum. Anyone like to address the board this time? Not too many left. Administrators left. Seeing no one, we'll move to the board forum. We're starting on my right. Joanne? No? Jennifer? Mark? Good. John?
Good.
Good. And Michelle? Cheryl? Kathleen, anything?
I'm good, thank you.
And I just want to reiterate the congratulations to our all that were recognized this evening. Our folks got tenure, our mentors, mentees, retirees. Congratulations, and I hope that this next chapter in their life is very rewarding. With that, we do have need for an executive session for personnel and contractual issues.
So we were planning to go into the faculty lounge, but I think we're going to have to stay here to have the technology for Ms. Curtin to participate.
Oh.
So we'll have to stay here. And if we could ask everybody to leave expeditiously so we can move on to our executive session. And thank you for attending.
But we could we just set up a laptop in the faculty
do that
lounge?
too.
Just an individual laptop?
Whichever.
I was going to say that would be fine with me, or even just a cell phone would be fine.
Can we do it through a laptop, Peter? Oh, okay. So we'll call you from the phone in there.
Okay.
Or my phone.
Okay, you have my cell phone number, correct?
Yep.
That'd be
Okay.
great. Thank you. Then we can let our folks take the technology down.
Yep.
Okay,
All right, thank you. All right.
thank you.
And 108 for the, sounds
So
good.
towards the gyms, you take a right and then it's on the left. Right.
I'll talk
Okay.
to you all in a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been in it. Yeah, we're on the-
Okay, well, so we'll go hit the road and bring your stuff with you. All right, and we don't anticipate any business after the executive session?
No.
Okay, very good. Have a great night, everybody.